Hey guys, Harry Thomas here, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first of my three lists in my reflection on summer 2019 movies, where the first is my top five best movies of summer 2019, the most positive list of the three by far. Now, summer 2019, I'm afraid to admit, but it was the most disappointing summer for movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, you needed to explore the far reaches of the universe just to look for the good movies this summer. But that's not to say there weren't any good movies this summer, because thankfully there were some rare, awesome ones, and that's what this list is focused on today, the redeeming movies in the most underwhelming summer. So, without further ado, if you want to know my top five best movies of summer 2019, then just keep watching. At number five, the underrated sequel Godzilla King of the Monsters. As somebody who was bored shitless by Gareth Edwards' Godzilla back in 2014, 5 years ago, Michael Dowsery thankfully came along and he shows that he knows Godzilla better than Gareth Edwards ever did. Godzilla is thankfully the protagonist this time, and the human characters are the supporting. Thank goodness for that. The epic monster throwdowns in this movie with Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra are colossal summer blockbuster entertainment, and I loved every single design for the new monsters, and even the human characters are far better written this time than they were in the 2014 Godzilla, from Millie Bobby Brown and Vera Fagma. Yeah, I fully cared about their mother and daughter relationship, and to be honest, they are the only two human characters that needed to be in this movie. Sure, this movie does have its slowish and unnecessary moments where it feels like it's dragging with some of the other human characters, and you're like, oh come on movie, let's edit that out and just get back to the monster battles already. And some of the dialogue came off as awkward, and sure, this is no groundbreaking piece of filmmaking by any means, but as a summer blockbuster, it is the perfect popcorn movie. As well as being the first decent installment in the Warner Brothers monster cinematic universe, I now have a little more optimism for the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie in 2020. At number four, Rocketman. Now, this is one of the greatest dramatizations of a pop star in the 21st. At number four, Rocketman. Now, this is one of the greatest dramatizations of a pop star I have ever seen. It had the balls that Bohemian Rhapsody didn't, as it literally had the ambition to show the first ever gay male sex scene in a mainstream blockbuster, and I'm sure we'll have more same-sex love scenes after this movie. And Taron Egerton went all out as Elton John. Taron Egerton was so convincing as Elton John. It's giving a magnificent portrayal that may land him an Academy Award nomination, and I was so convinced Taron Egerton was Elton John that I was like, there's no way that's Taron Egerton. Surely they just used actual footage of the actual Elton John, and it was it was a delight to hear every single classic Elton John song included in this movie, and to learn more about his backstory with his parents, about how he was neglected by his parents as he had he had different ideas about his future than they did, but it was only his grandmother that was supporting his decision to become a pop star. So even if that's a third act I did go on longer than it needed to, pacing wise. I thought that third act would never end, but still, Rocketman totally rocks. At number 3, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Good old Quentin Tarantino comes to the rescue in a summer of countless letdowns. But if this is Quentin Tarantino's penultimate movie before his 10th and final movie, then it's a worthy one. I freaking craved the time period setting of Hollywood in the 60s as somebody who is aspiring to be a filmmaker myself. Yeah, and to see Hollywood in its prime back then was glorious, and Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. Each of them were awesome, and Rick Dalton and his stunt double Cliff Booth had one powerful friendship, and it was also great to see the complicated love life of Shannon Tate. And Margot Robbie is absolutely stunning throughout this movie, and thank God this movie didn't focus heavily on the Manson murders. It was more on the Hollywood filmmaking side. But the movie was still 45 minutes too long at least, and the Manson murders inclusion at the end that felt tonally inconsistent with the first 2 acts of the movie, but this is still in my top 3 Tarantino movies. Number 2, which I'm sure is the majority's favourite movie of 2019, Avengers Endgame. Whoa. Even if I'm one of those rare people that doesn't think Endgame is as perfect as everybody says it is, please don't hurt me. It is still a epic in the superhero movie genre, and a stupendously, emphasis on stupendously satisfying conclusion to the MCU. The 11 years of build up to this emotional payoff was freaking worth it. So this entire movie makes you go, I did not see that coming, and subverts your expectations in the right way. It literally kills off the present day Thanos in the first 10 minutes, and the second act of this movie is a time travel movie with the help of Ant-Man's quantum realm to help the surviving Avengers collect the stones so that they can snap to resurrect their fallen buddies from Infinity War. And this movie made me like Infinity War better than I did initially. And after the Hulk snaps and brings 50% of the universe back to life, then all of a sudden, boom, shit hits the fan when the past version of Nebula brings the past version of Thanos to present day, and Thanos' ship just freaking obliterates the Avengers base, and we get this flawless final battle, the greatest in the entire MCU, where we see every single Avenger team up to kick Thanos' arse one final time. And one of the most epic moments is when Captain America takes on Thanos with Thor's hammer. But my favourite moments in the battle are with Captain Marvel herself, my MCU crush, when she's like, "Hey Peter Parker, you got something for me?" I'd be like, oh, I have flowers and chocolates for you. And the girl power moment when General Oakley is like, she's got to help, when all of these strong female characters in the MCU are together. That I was like, yes, this is my favourite moments, and it's so heroic to see Tony be the one to save the day when Thanos is like, I am inevitable, but then Tony gets the garnish and he's like, I am Iron Man, snaps, and Thanos and his army disintegrates, but sadly Tony gave his life in the process, and and Tony's funeral, my god, the tears just kept on coming. And Tony and Pepper's daughter Morgan was so sweet. So I feel so sorry for her that she lost her father at such a young age. It was the most powerful moment. So with her and Tony, when Tony was like, "I love you, 1 in 3,000." Though sorry, MCU fans, I still don't think Endgame is 100% perfect. The lack of fight scenes and action in the first act did bother me, and I personally think the Soul Stone scene would have been more powerful had Hawkeye been killed off instead of Black Widow, because Hawkeye giving his life for not just Black Widow but to bring his family back. That when Black Widow goes back to tell his family that he gave his life for theirs, and that would have been a heart-wrenching moment. But Endgame still remains one of my top 10 favourite movies of 2019. It is the most ambitious and epic superhero film ever made currently, and this and Deathly Hallows Part 2 are two-part finales done right. And my number one favourite movie of summer 2019 is oh man, my most unpopular opinion this entire year, but Dark Phoenix. Yeah, I'm sure all the comments in my comment section right now are just typing, "What's a Dark Phoenix better than Endgame? Unsubscribe." Is anybody with me that Dark Phoenix is just slightly better than Endgame? And anybody? I'm sure I'm the one person on the planet to think that, but I mean, my Dark Phoenix review is the most hated and disliked review on my channel for 2019 currently, because critics they rip this movie to fucking shreds. Some went as far as calling it the worst X-Men movie. They hated it even more than Origins and The Last Stand. But I think that's over-hazing. I mean, how come people were prejudging the trailers and hating on the trailers for Dark Phoenix, yet they were okay with and they were loving the trailers for the Disney live-action remakes this year? At least Dark Phoenix is an original film and necessary, so I'd give an original film more of a chance over an unnecessary remake any day. Dark Phoenix was the one movie this summer that I rated 5 stars out of 5 and personally had no issues with. This was the X-Men movie, well, an X-Men movie I had always wanted to see from the beginning, and finally they did the Dark Phoenix story total justice after not telling it the greatest way in Last Stand. But this is far more like it. Sophie Turner, she gives one of the most astonishing performances of this entire year as Jean Grey, and I'm glad that this movie focused on the darker side of the Dark Phoenix. I mean, people were complaining that this movie overlooked the good side of the Phoenix, but I'm like, from a movie point of view, where's the drama in that? Where's the conflict in that? And this movie doesn't need to be entirely accurate to the comics. That would be predictable. This movie wasn't afraid to differentiate itself from the comics and surprise you. And Simon Kinberg should direct X-Men movies more often. He delivered an even more... This movie delivers even more of an emotional punch for me than Logan did. I felt extremely bad for poor Jean as she's attempting to control the Dark Phoenix inside of her, but now because of the Dark Phoenix, her friends are on the X-Men team are now turning against her, and the villain Vuk, played by Jessica Chastain. Call me a biased Jessica Chastain, but I absolutely adore her and will forever praise her in every role that she's in, because she can't she can't be bad in a movie. I will automatically adore every single role she's in because she can do no wrong, and Hans Zimmer's score is simply wonderful, and it's the most riveting X-Men score I've ever heard, and uh, and I think the reshoots did benefit this movie by including that train fight. That train fight was a mesmerizing final act, and I, for one, did defend the line from Mystique, ex-woman, as she's correct. And how come the men in the X-Men title are getting all the credit and the women aren't? Why not just title it X-People and your problem is solved, gender equality? So yeah, am I the only one here that loves Dark Phoenix and is proud to call it the best movie of summer 2019? So that was my top 5 best movies of summer 2019. I'm sure every other list is different from mine, as I did pick some controversial picks for this list, but film is subjective, am I right, guys? Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. And what are your top 5 best movies of summer 2019? Please comment and let me know. Please like the video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll see you all next time when I share my top 5 most disappointing movies of summer 2019. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.